don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's a different type of buzz around Bethune-Cookman football heading into 2024 than I've seen in the last couple of years I've been running this show. Oh yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make a Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Go to the download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. I'm sitting here trying to catch my breath because as that beautiful song made by my boy, 9 Division, all right, Louisiana native, came on, I realized I had my pale shirt on, and I said, you know what? This ain't enough, because today, we doing it like this, not unheard. I should record the whole episode like this. But today is the NBA draft, and I deemed that wearing my Pelican shirt was not enough. So let's go ahead and throw on this Pelicans jersey, because y'all already know what it is with me. Saints Wire, right? Saints Wire, put it on, stupid. But Saints Wire writer, New Orleans Pelicans fan, through and through. You better ask about me, man. Better ask about me. All right? Anyway, so quick little wardrobe change, but let's rock. Let's rock. This reminds me when Ty Floyd came on the show and put out a FAMU jacket randomly. We'll wrap up today's episode with a look at the 3 Olympic athletes who are current students at an HBCU. You have Jamarion Stubs, you have Caleb Snowden, you also have Simone Watkins. So we'll go over their path to get to the Olympic trials. Prior to that, are the Norfolk State Spartans soft launching their wrestling program? I think they just might. I think they might be. So I got 2 quotes to kind of prove that they are. But we kick it off with Bethune Cookman football. And I'll be honest with y'all, this is not a team that we talk a lot about on this show. I've been running this show since November 2021. So I've really seen 2 football seasons as a host. Right, I seen that 2021 season technically, but I came in around the Bayou Classic. That's the end of the year. So I really didn't get much of that season, but 2022, 2023, I did get those entire years. Plus I got an off season. This is the most buzz that I've seen around Bethune-Cookman since I've joined this show. I would say the closest thing to this for Bethune-Cookman was when the whole Ed Reed situation was going on. But I think that's completely different because that was hype around the brand. This is hype around the team. And also, I don't think that the Ed Reed tenure went long enough. It was technically, it never started. He was never technically hired, though I say he was fired in the framework of the conversation because who cares for the specifics? He basically was fired. He was supposed to be the coach. There was always a cap on the Ed Reed excitement because he was never officially announced. Everybody knew he was going to be the coach. We seen him on campus, so we knew that he was going to be the coach. But officially announced, that never happened. There was no press conference. And I remember asking why. Why is there no press conference? What's going on? And people told me to just kind of calm down. But for me, a person who's been extremely excited for Ed Reed to get an opportunity, I never even got that excited about it because I didn't have anything that felt overly tangible. When it comes to Raymond Woody Jr., and what he's doing with Bethune-Cookman in 2000 or going into the 2024 season, it feels tangible. It feels like real excitement. With Ed Reed, it was excitement about the brand. Oh, you have this huge name coach. What can come from it? With Raymond Woody and what he's done over this offseason, it feels like an excitement about the football team, about wins and losses. And that's no shade to what Ed Reed could have done. Who knows? But this is just about what he was able to do in the time frame that he was here, and then also what Raymond Woody is doing in the time frame that he's here. The recruiting trail should not shock anybody. What Bethune Cookman has done this offseason in the recruitment shouldn't be surprising. You have to remember that Raymond Woody never really got an opportunity to craft his team the way that he wanted to. He was hired after National Signing Day. So by being hired after National Signing Day, yes, you can go in and you can grab some players. You can get some of those post-spring transfers. Those players can be valuable. Don't get me wrong. But I would never say that a coach who was hired after National Signing Day got a true opportunity to craft his team. Matter of fact, his son joins the team. That couldn't even happen for whatever reason. I don't know why his son didn't join the team last year as a post-spring transfer. Maybe that just wasn't the move. But anyway, the point is, if a coach comes in after February in football, he's not giving the true opportunity to craft his team. And that statement only goes further when you look at Raymond Woody. When you look at Raymond Woody, I think he further enforces that you can't hold him to whatever Bethune Cookman's roster was like last year, because he comes in with a long list of recruiting credits. This is essentially what he does. Look at Raymond Woody's resume. Pac-12 Recruiter of the Year, AAC Recruiter of the Year, Sun Belt Recruiter of the Year, top class in his conference at 4 different years. So if you're talking about recruitment, that's what Raymond Woody does. So I'm not judging based off of last year's roster makeup when he didn't really get a chance to show his superpowers. This is what he does over everything else. So it's no surprise to me that Bethune Cookman is extremely active in the transfer portal. On Monday's episode, we looked at the teams that had the most FBS transfers coming onto their team this year. Bethune Cookman was number 4, tied for 4 with Jackson State amongst HBCUs, and they were number 7, I believe it was. Let me make sure. I think it was 1, 4, 5, and then they were tied at 7. That's 7 teams, 6 teams in the FCS ranks that had more FBS transfers. That's it. That's where it stops. Let me make sure I'm right about that. Yeah, Bethune Cookman and Jackson State had the 7th most FBS transfers of all FCS teams. So overall, to me, I'm not shocked by any of this because this is who I expected to see once Raymond Woody came in. I think I might have detailed it. The reason things feel different now is not only are you seeing all of these big names, they're hype names. And I don't know what Big Boy's son gonna look like. I don't know what Rick Ross' son gonna look like. But what I do know is that you got Big Boy and you got Rick Ross' son. And what I do know is you'll probably see Rick Ross at a game. I know that you'll see Big Boy at a game. You may see Andre 3000 at a game. And do those things turn into wins? No, they don't. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But it does heighten some of the buzz around Bethune Cookman football because at the worst, I can see multiple Saturdays in which Daytona Beach feels like the spot to be. I can see multiple Saturdays where Bethune Cookman football feels like a big time event because, wow, is that Rick Ross? Is that Big Boy? Is that Outkast? Because we know that Big Boy and Andre 3000 have been known to go to Big Boy's son's games. So it wouldn't shock me if you were to see him there. Maybe even has the flute. Who knows? Like these are things that I believe are real. These are things that contribute to the hype. The hype is not going to lead to wins and losses. That guy can't just be a rapper's son. He has to be a good running back. He has to be a good offensive lineman. You're bringing in a bunch of people. You need those transfers to actually put in work, not just be a name on a piece of paper that looks good prior to the game or prior to the opening game. So this isn't about actual wins and losses. This is about the hype around them because it just feels different. I feel for the first time since hosting this show, there's a certain level of interest and there's a certain level of belief around Bethune Cookman football. There's a certain level of belief that they'll be better than they were last year. And the interest is how much better will they be? I'm right here with you, man. I'm on the hype train. I'm following. I'm trying to see exactly how good the Wildcats be in 2024. Now, as we push forward, it's not going to be 2024 that we see Norfolk State with a wrestling team. Might not even be 2025. But I feel as if the Spartans are soft launching the return of collegiate wrestling to Norfolk State. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Now, I don't care if it's football season. I don't care if it's basketball season, baseball season. I don't care what it is. Soccer. Maybe you want to watch a little MLS around yourself, right? This is the best place to get your tickets, whether you're procrastinating, because we've all done that. I remember, man, I was so upset. I waited to the last minute to find myself some tickets. I wish that I would have known about Game Time at that time. But thankfully, I'm much older and much wiser, and I don't need to fall into that same trap, because if I do wait to the last minute, Game Time is still going to provide me with the best ticket prices out there. Now, I love the zone deals. I love the flash deals because they're already a good price. But then this brings that number even lower. And who doesn't like to pay less to still have a good time? Now, it's on you. Whether you want to look at sports, a concert, a theater play, anything going on around your local city, right? All you have to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College. That is, download the app, Game Time, create an account, and use the code Locked On College, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day. Every day for your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today, the first of its kind, live 24/7, all day, every day, sports network on YouTube. Also, make sure you're checking out Locked On Pelicans, because it's the NBA draft today. FanDuel can get you with that. Today's Wednesday, by the way, just in case you're listening to this late and it's not the NBA draft. But FanDuel can go ahead and make you some money too. This ain't even a moment for that today, but why not? Is Norfolk State soft launching wrestling? Now, this is a serious question, and I don't know if anybody's going to have the answer out there to say yes, they are, or no, they aren't. But is Norfolk State soft launching the return of collegiate wrestling? I'm going to say yes. I know we don't know for sure, but I'm going to say yes. And I have a couple of quotes, but it all comes from the fact that they are running a wrestling clinic here on campus this weekend. Now, that could mean a lot of things. That could just mean this person wanted to bring it into Norfolk State. Norfolk State wanted to support them. They just want to cultivate a relationship or build the interest in in wrestling around there. Like, it could mean these things, but I stumble across it because I don't believe it. I think, to me, this is a sign that Norfolk State is returning to wrestling. I believe it was 1998, the last time that they had amateur wrestling at the school. And you know what? They have a built-in partner in Morgan State. I'm going to get to the quotes in a second, probably close out the episode with it, or close out this segment with it. But this is a little bit different than you see with gymnastics. With gymnastics, this is all on the NAIA level, the D2 level. Like, this is what you're seeing. You're seeing Talladega, you're seeing Fisk, like you're seeing Wilberforce. You're seeing all of these schools. They aren't the big HBCUs. When you're looking at gymnastics, as much as a perfect pairing it is with the sport in the community, you're not seeing it at the big schools. But when you look at wrestling, something else that I think is very advantageous, I think that you will get a lot of support for it. I would have to check what the numbers are at Morgan State. You have the Morgan State Bears. And if what I believe is true, and as Norfolk State is trying to bring it back or gauge the interest, you could have two MEAC schools with a wrestling program. And that's advantageous for the Spartans as the person coming up number 2, because you don't have to be a trailblazer. You can just say, hey, I'm going with Morgan State. It's an easy pairing right there. Wherever Morgan State is, I'm right there with you. We're the two MEAC schools doing this. Let's make sure we're in the same conference doing what we got to do. I absolutely love this. I think that, so when I was younger, right, let's just go into a little bit of story time. When I was younger, I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I wanted to do wrestling. Things happened to where I wasn't able to do it. But I was on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu first. I love the martial arts. I would argue my second favorite sport, not even argue, my second favorite sport to football is mixed martial arts. It's not basketball. It's not soccer. It's mixed martial arts. Like, that's what gets me as far as sports, right? Can't wait. Big fight coming up this weekend with Yuri versus Pereira. But that being said, it's not about that right now. I love this. I've always wanted to get into wrestling more. I fail to do it, and I'm so disappointed in myself every time. I keep saying, hey, you should do it. But like, when it comes up, I definitely sit down and I watch in that circle. I watch in that circle and I watch what they do. I think that wrestling is a very interesting sport, and I would love if Norfolk State were to bring it back. I would even argue, now this one is an argument, that part of my excitement is the fact that I desire it at Norfolk State. Let me give a quote from Kerwin Adderley, Norfolk State wrestling alum, and then also the clinician for the event that's going to be on campus this week. I'm excited with this opportunity to lead a wrestling clinic at Norfolk State University where my wrestling career began. And it's really unique for me to have an opportunity to have teammates, former athletes that I coached at Norfolk State, alongside the women wrestlers that I am coaching currently. Hopefully, this is the first step in potentially bringing Division I women's and men's wrestling programs to Norfolk State and the Hampton Roads area. Boom! That's it right there. That's it right there. He says it. Hopefully, this is the first step in potentially bringing Division I women's and men's wrestling programs to Norfolk State University. And I believe that Norfolk State University is trying to see how interested the people in the area would be before they do it. Because you don't want to just jump out and say, hey, we're doing wrestling. But I can guarantee you, if this event is successful, they'll probably do it again. If that next event is successful, you may see, hey, Norfolk State is considering opening up a wrestling program. Would it shock you if Kerwin Adderley ends up being the first coach in Norfolk State men's and women's wrestling? Would it shock you if that was the case? Norfolk State, listen, Kerwin Adderley is a Norfolk State alum. He wrestled there. He coached there. He's currently coaching women's wrestling right now. And he's bringing his two worlds together at his alma mater that no longer has wrestling, but he has explicitly said, right? Kerwin Adderley has straight up said, I want to bring it back to Norfolk State, and I hope that this is the first step. That Norfolk State brings it in. We know what his interests are, but what about them? What about them? He says, Melody Webb says, we're extremely excited to announce the Norfolk State Wrestling Clinic, a collaboration with HBCU Wrestling Initiative. This milestone will celebrate the tremendous careers of our historic program while increasing participation and accessibility to the sport for a new generation of athletes. Bringing the Spartan community together to showcase the sport of wrestling at Norfolk State. What are we talking about here? It's all on the table. It's all there. Kerwin Adderley, former Norfolk State wrestler, former Norfolk State coach. He wants to bring it back. He said it straight up. I'll read it to you again for the 50 millionth time. Hopefully, this is the first step in potentially bringing Division I women's and men's wrestling programs to Norfolk State. That is a direct quote from Brother Adderley. Now, you know that Morgan State has a wrestling team. You know they're in the MEAC together. The partnership is right there. I believe that Norfolk State just needs to see that this is something that the people are interested in. And if they are, you have your coach right there. Kerwin Adderley could easily be the first head coach of the new generation of Norfolk State wrestling. You're talking about you want to bring the Spartan community together to showcase the sport of wrestling. What better way to do it than to have a wrestling team? This is a soft launch of wrestling. I have no inside information. This is purely speculation, but I like it. Now, to push forward, 3 HBCU athletes are left in the Olympic trials. So let me break them down for you, because we have Sister Watkins and we have Brother Snowden and Brother Stubs as we continue with Locked On HBCU. As wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day, every day, making all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. I guess I might as well throw it up at the beginning of this one too. Go Hells. This is also my shirt. No, I'm not flashing anybody. I know Louisiana, I ain't getting no beads. All right. I ain't like that. But no, I'm just joking. NOLA, y'all see it, man. Y'all, it's Wednesday. I'm trying to have a little bit of fun on hump day. But anyway, let's keep rolling, because at the end of the day, as fun as I'm having, y'all ain't here to just see me party. Y'all here to hear me talk about a little bit of these sports. And we've gone through we've gone through football. We've gone through potentially wrestling coming back. And then we've also gone through track and field in segment 3, or we're going through track and field in segment 3. There are multiple former HBCU athletes who are involved in the Olympic trials. We're not breaking them down. I send all my love and support to them, but we're not breaking them down today. Who we are breaking down today is the athletes who are currently at an HBCU who are going for Olympic not gold, but a spot on the Olympic team. That's what the Olympic trials are for. Is that anybody who is an American athlete, everybody has their own different Olympic trials, but we focus on the U.S. Olympic trials. Olympic athletes can make American athletes can make the Olympic team. And let's kick off with ladies first, because you have three of them. First off, you have Howard Simone Watkins, who runs the 400-meter hurdle. All three of these athletes were automatic qualifiers. I don't know if there were any people who didn't run or jump or throw. I don't know if anybody made the minimum. I'm sure there was somebody who made the minimum, but wasn't an automatic qualifier that made this event. But all of these three athletes, automatic qualifiers, which mean they hit the top mark in order to guarantee the fact that they were going to be here at this event. Watkins was an automatic qualifier, and she hit the mark at NCAA Nationals. Now, the time needed was a 56.2. A 58 even was the minimum time. She ran that at the MEAC Championships. Yikes, right? Who knows how that would have went. But luckily, when she came in on the national scale at the NCAA first round in the East Regional section, she ran a minimum time again. So she definitely would have guaranteed herself. Let me not use that word because that could be confusing. By running what was it at the time? I can't remember. I don't have it written down, but it was a 57 something. By running that, she did get a minimum requirement, and maybe that would have been good enough. But then in the second run that she had, she ran really well. She ran a 55.92. That was good enough for third in that heat, or in that day in the semifinals. I don't remember what it was in her particular heat, but you looked at her and she had a phenomenal race, 55.92. And that punched her ticket not only to Eugene so that she could be a part of the NCAA Nationals, but it also punched her ticket to the Olympic trials. Now, as you go forward, Caleb Snowden, the most interesting man on here, UAPB high jumper, he punched his ticket a long time ago. Unlike Stubs, unlike Watkins, he punched his ticket a while ago. All you have to do is jump a 223 all. Like, I could just go out there and do it. But you just have to jump a 223 meters, the 2.23 meters in the high jump. He did that a while ago at Texas Relays. Jumped to 226. Then he doubled it up, then he improved even more at Memphis. And he jumped to I can't talk right now. Then he had an even better personal best at the Memphis Tiger Relays, and he jumped a 227. Right. So you're looking at somebody who's been very consistent. He's been in the 220s pretty much all outdoor season. He jumped a 218 once. Other than that, every single time that he competed, he was in the 220s. So he was kind of hovering around that section. 217 was the minimum requirement. He hit that. Never doubted that was going to happen. But I do have a quote about doubt from him. And I thought that this one was kind of interesting. And he spoke about his thought process on the way to this event. And he goes back years. 2022 is when he actually goes back to. He says, in 2022, it's when it started getting talked about being in Paris. I've always thought about it, but I was never really at the level that I am now. But as I started getting closer, I started getting some higher marks. And the more I started to think about it, and the more I just started to think about it. So you're looking at the mindset of an athlete who, hey, I told you, he made this cut at Texas Relays. He's been good for months now. I think that might have been in March. So he's been good for about 3 months now. But the mindset changed in between 2022 and then this final year he had in college. Now, Jamarion Stubs is a little different than the other two because he barely competed in his event. He's going in for the 200. I know he ran the 100 and the 2, but he's going in for the 200 in this event. And with this event, he only ran the 200 meter twice before SWAC championships. Twice. And that's where he hit the automatic qualifier mark. I don't know if that would have counted. I don't know if the SWAC made the same mistake that the MEAC did. Also, let me say this. I hate that this happened on an Olympic year. And I hate that Kai Cole had to be the person who had to take those consequences, but I can guarantee you it won't happen again. Even if the MEAC doesn't sanction the next 3 years of their conference championship, they will indeed sanction when it comes to the Olympics. I can guarantee you that year they will make sure that it is sanctioned. And maybe you don't have to. Well, yeah, I think every event. Yeah, anyway, point being, I'm still trying to get into track and field, so thank y'all for bearing with me. But yeah, he ran a 2018 to become the SWAC 200 meter champion. He barely was doing that during the year. He ran like twice He was running a bunch of 100s. He's run on the 4x1 team, but he ran the 200 twice. And this looks like his event. He's young. He's the only one who will be going back to college next year. And I hope to see him really hone in on 200. I want him to run more 200s than he did this season, right? Because it's not that he can't run the 100. I just look at him run the 2, and I think it's much better. It just looks better to me. He looks closer to that upper echelon, even though in the final one, he didn't perform as well. When you see what times he was running throughout the process to get to the national championships, I just feel like it was the better event for him, and he could hone in on it. But he did hit the automatic qualifier again at the NCAA outdoors, ended up running a high of a 1995. So I'm really excited to watch him. This is the one because I want to see what does he do. Does he run in the 20 point? Did he run below 20.1? Like it's a certain bar because I had a certain set of expectations for Stubs going into that final championship run, and he didn't quite do it. But that's okay because now he has another opportunity, and I'll be looking to see if he can get a good do-over, get a reset, and actually run the time that we saw him be able to run on the bigger stage than he ran those times at, if that makes sense. NCAA regionals, big stage, but it's not as big as the championship section, specifically not as big as the final race, and it's also not as big as Olympic trials. So we'll be back Friday. We will have Gerald Huggins' show. I promise you that. I'm very excited. That's my guy. I'm very excited to bring you the look of the running back landscape because he feels like it's better than 2022 or will be better than 2022. And I hold that one in such high regard. I had to double down on my questions when it came to him. But you see all of that on tomorrow's episode. All three of these athletes, Stubs, Watkins, Snowden, they all perform tomorrow, Thursday the 27th, depending on when you listen to this. They will be competing Thursday the 27th for their first round, and they'll try to progress as the days go on. But I appreciate you as the days going on, making this your first listen of the day every day. Hold up your jersey. Hope your team picks whoever you want them to pick. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care. Stay blessed. Peace.